I didn't post on YouTube for 2 weeks and I ended up getting anxiety. I had people telling me that the algorithm is now going to hate me, all the work I've done over the last few weeks is going to be for nothing, and my video editor was asking me when is he getting new files and all this kind of stuff, and it just got too much. And you're thinking, but why? It's just posting on YouTube, right? What is the big deal? Well, I love making educational content for people. I love helping people, helping them grow, and just talking to people who I really enjoy talking to and helping them with their journey. But it stopped being about that. Now, when I started telling people that I was starting a YouTube channel, all the questions I had were not around how I'm helping people, what the content's about, but it was just all around growth. So it was like, how many subscribers have you got? What's your strategy to grow your channel? How many views are you getting? And all these kind of things that I just didn't necessarily care about. Now, I know that you need to grow and growth is obviously a big part of entrepreneurship, but it became less about helping people and more about just vanity metrics. And then, of course, about monetization. When are you getting monetized? How far away are you from monetization? I am so far away from monetization, but all these questions just started making me feel a little bit inadequate. And I know I shouldn't be comparing myself to other people, but then when you combine this with a bunch of negative comments on all of your videos, like how I look and sound like a man, how annoying my voice is, how I'm actually just full of bullshit, which is ironic considering the YouTube channel's name. So I just started to think, is all this actually worth it? So I started to speak to a few other new content creators, and it turns out I'm not the only one feeling this way. And so it led me to think, is all this obsession with consistency and putting yourself out there all the time contributing to mental health issues? And so this is what's led me to create this video, and this is my first video back after a hiatus from my YouTube creation. And I really wanted to create this because I know that there were other people who also feel this way, and I wanted to let them know that you're not alone, and there are lots of us who also feel this way. And I've put together some tips and things that I've been working on over the last couple of months to really help me through this and to kind of help me keep focusing on what I want to do and just make this whole journey a little bit more positive. So I hope you enjoy the following tips coming up and my experiences, and I hope it helps you get through what you're struggling with. So I've just come back from a bit of a social media detox, and I know lots of people say this and they kind of go away and they do an unplugged thing, but I just wanted to live my life without the constant noise from external forces. And I just did my normal day-to-day thing. I just didn't use social media. And in this time, what it's allowed me to do is allow me to actually reflect on what I really, really want. So I haven't touched social media, as in I haven't been on Instagram, LinkedIn, all this normal stuff that I even use, not just YouTube, and just not spoken to anyone and actually had time only meeting people face to face and just having genuine, deep conversations with people, as opposed to this surface level, like performance, bravado stuff that you see on social media. And it's just allowed me to be a bit real. It's allowed me to rethink about what I really want with my life and how I want to show up on social media. Now, I started this YouTube channel because I believe there's a lot of bullshit out there in not just social media, in entrepreneurship. And as someone who's been running my own business for over 15 years, I found it difficult to understand what's real and what's not, and who to trust, and where to spend my money and time and energy, because I've wasted a lot of it. And it is draining and demoralizing if you put all this effort into something and it's in the wrong places. So I wanted to help people be really realistic about entrepreneurship, because I think there's a lot of content out there which is very polished and very, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it sells a dream and it sells a life that doesn't really exist. And I think when you go into that with such expectations, you consistently feel disappointed and you're not ready, and you don't build up the resilience that you need to have when you're trying to build a business. So I really wanted to create a channel which is more realistic, so letting people know what they're in for so they can mentally prepare for it, and also financially and emotionally prepare for it too. So that's what it's all been about. However, when I started researching YouTube and doing some courses and everything like that, the constant narrative was that you have to show up all the time on YouTube. Well, same as every social media channel, right? Consistency is the magic word for anything. If you look at any interview with any top entrepreneur for anything in life, you have to be consistent. But the question is, what does that word even mean? Consistent what? Like, how is it I believe it's like consistent tone of voice, consistent quality of work. But consistency has been very murky. And for YouTube specifically, I've been told that you must do at least 3 times per week on YouTube if you want to be able to get any sort of traction. You need to have at least 100 videos before you even speak to anyone of any significance, because they won't even speak to you if you haven't done 100 videos to prove that you're committed and you're consistent to it. And by doing this, it puts a lot of pressure on you. And as someone who already runs multiple businesses and does various different things, I'm already very, very time poor, as are most entrepreneurs. But I was very, very keen on doing this. So I did it for consistently 7 weeks before I felt the pressure. And I think that you need to have exceptional processes when you're doing something like this. And it's the same in business. I think processes are thrown out the window because it's not very glamorous, right? The operation side of a business is boring. It's all the logistics and you need to be quite rigorous to be able to do this, and it's not the fun, creative, ideation, marketing side of business, and so it often gets pushed to the side. But I feel that when you're doing something like YouTube and you're consistently doing content marketing, you have to have a steady flow of things and they have to be consistent, because the way I was running my business is I was jam-packing everything in, and I was super organized because I'm very meticulous about where I spend my time and energy, and I will make sure I get things done to the deadline. But if you've got multiple people working alongside a process to get things done, for example, a YouTube channel, you might have people doing admin side of things, you might have people uploading things, you have people editing the videos, you have people creating thumbnails, you have people all doing the marketing side of things, you have a whole ton of things. If one person doesn't deliver on time, it throws off the entire chain. And for me, when that happens, I then have everything out of sync, and then suddenly it causes problems. And actually that means that I've created my business in a poor way, because I cannot create something and work on the basis that everything's going to go perfectly to plan. I need to accept that things are not perfect. I need to accept that people are going to mess up along the way. There's going to be delays, there's going to be unforeseen circumstances. And I cannot have a business which relies on everything going perfectly or it all goes to shit. That's just my bad. So I've obviously created something as well, which is unacceptable and unreasonable and unrealistic. So I think it goes back down to processes. So you need to have a good team of people who you can rely on, but also you need to make sure that your processes are okay, so that say if something does go wrong or you can't get a video out, it doesn't affect all the other things in your processes. Now the problem is, when you're looking at advice for content creation, YouTube, whatever social media marketing is, the videos that you usually see are created by top content creators. These guys have been doing it for years, and they also have a much larger budget. They have a whole team of people creating these flawless videos, and they will tell you how they can get things done. The problem is, most of us don't have that budget, they don't have the team, they don't have those resources, and so it's not going to actually apply to them. And actually, if they try these sort of tactics and strategies, it's not going to work, and they're going to feel inferior and inadequate. It's going to break down. So you need to realize that you're going to take some of these ideas and actually look at how it fits into your personal schedule. Your schedule is different from everyone else's. Mine is very different from everyone else's too. So I have to look and think, is that going to work for my schedule? I was getting advice of other people doing YouTube because I'd never done it before. I absorbed lots of other content creators' strategies and everything, thinking, okay, let me try that. It doesn't work for me because lots of other people have more time in their diary. They're full-time content creators. Actually, that's most of them I was taking advice off. They are full-time content creators. They do not have 7 other different jobs that they're trying to do. So therefore, it's just never going to work. So you have to adapt to who you really are. And these content creators, they've over-glamorized their lives, because obviously the idea is that they're trying to sell a course and they're trying to sell their services, and they want to show that actually their life is perfect and they've got all these amazing things going for them, and they're not going to show the stress behind the closed doors. And so many people now are trying to create content because they want this lifestyle. They believe that you're just traveling around the world and you're getting all these free things and you're having this amazing cushy lifestyle, this perfect work-life balance, which everyone's talking about. But in reality, when I speak to lots of top content creators, they are stressed. They don't actually get to enjoy the things in life because it's all about work. When they go into the gorgeous places, they're not actually relaxing, they're not actually enjoying any of the scenery. They're constantly thinking every moment has to be content. For me, that takes out all the fun and things, and it's not the sort of thing that I want to do. So I cannot look to those people for aspiration. And you know, when I start to look on YouTube for advice again, how to get to monetization within 90 days, how I grew my following from 0 to hero in 90 days, it's all of these really unrealistic goals, and it's setting expectations for other people, and it's giving people anxiety because they feel like they need to compete with all of this. But the reality is most of them are not actually doing any of those things. And lots of them are saying, oh, I went from 0 to whatever. Again, a lot of them are fudging those numbers. They are buying subscribers to make it look like this so that you watch their videos and then they'll get monetized. And actually, when you look at the monetization, it's really not that much until you become a big content creator. So it's not something you can actually live on. And if this is your plan, it's not that sustainable. When you work out the hours that you're going to be spending and the money that you're going to be investing to be able to get to that stage, actually do the maths of how long it takes in a realistic way, because it's quite different. So when I look at what these content creators are saying, they are consistently saying that you need to show consistency, which is obviously ironic, right? Because they're consistently saying, which I guess they're practicing what they preach. But this consistency thing, I think, needs to be clarified, because it all depends on your goals. It all depends on why you're showing up on social media. Now, if you're selling social media services, that's a little bit different. You should spend all the time in the world you want on social media. But if your business is something completely different, you should only be spending a small fraction of your time on social media. Now, I've sort of realized all these sort of things over the last month or so since I've been off social media. I've been working out how I deal with this consistency thing. What does consistency look like for an actual really busy business owner and someone who doesn't rely on social media, someone whose business is actually all about in-person connections and is offline a lot of the time? Now, if your business is not social media, what is consistency to you? How long should you be spending on social media? And how do you deal with this pressure of trying to be consistently online? Now, I've worked out 3 things that's helped me kind of feel like I could come back. And this is obviously my first video in a long time, and I'm sitting here and I finally have found the energy to speak to people about it and to talk through what I've processed over the last month or so. So here are my 3 things of how I've been able to now work out what consistency looks like and why I intend to show up on social media in a much more sustainable way. So number 1 is going back to your why. Why are you creating content? Why are you showing up on social media? What is your vision? Because I had a very strong vision for NOBS, my Entrepreneurs Members Club. And I wrote that all down. I was on my path to doing it. I was creating some incredible stuff. And I lost my way. So much so that I created an entire new arm of my business that I didn't even like. And I'm like, but why was I doing that? Because I got so fixated on all these other people telling me things on social media and telling me the things that they wanted, but actually weren't even true. They were just saying it on social media for the sake of it, or it even could have been AI, I don't know. And I got so fixated on trying to create stuff for them, and they didn't really care about it, that I lost my vision completely. So you have to be so strong in your why and go back to your vision and always carry out what your vision is. So for me, why am I even in front of this camera right now? Why am I creating this content? And I have to remember that my why is all about helping other people with their business, helping them grow, helping them sniff out the bullshit and find out what's real and what's not. And so, do I need to have 1 million subscribers for that? No. Do I need to have even tens of thousands of views for that? No. Because even if I have 10 views on a video, I've helped 10 people. I've helped 10 people sniff out the bullshit and find out what is relevant and what is, going to help them grow their business. And that to me is success. And so I have to remember that with all the negative comments that I get, there's always one that says, thank you so much, your video really helped me. And I also have to remember, because I've started to go back again to in-person stuff, and every time I meet someone in person, they go, I love your content. And I'm like thinking, they've never engaged with my content once, never left one comment, one like or anything. But like, oh, I see your content, I absorb it, I absolutely love it every single time. And I'm like, wow. And so I realised I am actually positively impacting lots of people that I don't realise about. And I think that's way more important. And as long as I'm still doing that, and as long as I'm still helping people, that's what matters. And if I think that my time and energy and effort and money that goes into creating this YouTube channel is worth helping those few people, whether it's just tens of people or hundreds of people, as long as I think that's worth it, then I should still be creating content regardless of what other people say. And so the moment it becomes overwhelming, that's when it needs to stop. And obviously I need to change things. And so that's why now I'm working out my schedule of when I can put things in so it's not overwhelming, but going back to just creating content that I enjoy creating and I know will help other people. So the second thing to work out, and I think it's so underestimated because I do this when I help out other businesses, but I never even did it for myself really. But you need to ask yourself the question, what actually makes you the most money? Now you should know this answer. You should know the breakdown in your business and you should know exactly what comes in from different parts of your income. Now, if you're a content creator, obviously there's a different thing because you need to be constantly creating content. But even if you're a full-time content creator, does most of your money come from like monetization of your channels? Does it come from brand partnerships? Does it come from speaking gigs as a result of your content? You need to know the breakdown because you need to ask yourself what makes you the most money, because whatever makes you that most money, you need to be concentrating on that. So for example, for me, what makes me the most money is actually my strategy days. And I don't even post about this that much. I don't even talk about this that much, which is really, really wrong. So really, I should be talking more about business strategy and how I help other business owners with their business and create much more of an impact and actually improve the performance of their business through my strategy days. And I should be talking about that a lot more. So even if I do create content, it should be more about that. And I do events, I do speaking gigs and all this sort of stuff. But actually, how much of my work comes from creating content? And what I realised is that most of it doesn't. Most of my referrals, most of my business, most of everything I do comes from personal relationships, like one-to-one contacts. So actually, I should hardly be spending any time creating content. And so that's why I've now gone down Pareto's law again. I've gone 80-20. So 80% of my time now is going to be nurturing those relationships that I already have, because that's where most of my business comes from. And 20% can come from creating content. So I should not be spending more than 20% of my time creating content. Otherwise, I'm actually making it imbalanced and I'm depriving myself of actual business that I could be getting from those personal relationships. Everyone's is going to be different, but you should be breaking down exactly what percentage of your business comes from different things. And if you're spending more than that percentage online, even though, say if only 50% of your business comes from social media, but you're spending like 80% of your time on social media, even that balance is off. So you need to be thinking about it. And most people I know don't need tens of thousands of clients. They only need tens of clients to be able to make their financial goals. So really think about how you're spending your time, what makes you the most money, and go back and concentrate on that. So number 3 is something I mentioned already, is that you've got to make sure it fits in with your schedule and your lifestyle. Now, over the last month, I've been thinking, what do I really want my life to look like? And I was saying earlier that I jam-packed my schedule. Everything was like so in place and I was to be efficient as possible. But I don't want my life to look like that. I don't want to be so busy that I am stressed and running from meeting to meeting to meeting. The other day I had a day where I had jam-packed everything in and I thought I was being so efficient and I slicked going through day to the day and like looking back at it and I was like, I got so much done. I went and checked my Oura Ring stats and it was like high stress for the entire day. And I was like, that cannot be good for my health. So, you know, the occasional day like that, fine, but I'm jam-packing almost every day like that to be as efficient as possible. And it's no wonder that when I start to take some time out, I start to get sick when I go on holiday. And I'm like, why am I sick? But my body's finally like, oh, I couldn't deal with it all that time. And now suddenly I'm sick. I do not want my life to look like that. So now I am making sure that I'm creating a lifestyle which has breaks in the day. I am doing wellness, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to the spa, I'm relaxing, having some downtime so that I am not on the go all the time. And I thought I got better at it, but then when I get excited about doing something else and doing more things and saying yes to more things, which is a big problem, which I'll come back to another time, I just jam-pack my schedule even more. And I'm like, oh, I've got this time, but no, I need to prioritize things. So your consistency will depend on what you want your lifestyle to look like. If you have kids and you want to spend time with them and you want to be present with them, then you need to prioritize that. And you should not be trying to create content or be on social media when you're in the presence of your kids, for example. That's just your choice of what you want to do. And so for me, that's what I'm thinking about as well. And so you need to prioritize things based on your schedule. So this has been my first video back for a while, and it's all about thinking about consistency and what impact that has on your mental health and the pressure it puts on you and the anxiety it creates. And I know that I'm not alone with this, so I really hope those of you who felt that's the same way but have been too scared to speak to people about it will feel comfortable reaching out, and I hope this video's helped. But remember, it's all about you and what you want, so prioritize yourself.